Heart to heart with the Rhino time. And Boris. Heart to heart with the Rhino and Boris. So, right now we're going to talk about. Well, oh, that was my sack, dog. Okay. So, we were going to be really serious, and then the boxer joined. So, right now we're going to talk about. Well, borderline personality disorder. Why? Because that's what I can talk about the most. We're not really going to talk about my feelings or all that. We're going to talk about some statistics. Statistics that were as recent as 2009 to 2014. There's a great book out there, actually. It was originally written in 1989, which was in the infancy of borderline personality disorder, back before there was a lot known about it, and it is called I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. And like I said, that is a slogan that they use in this illness. This is the reissue of the book. I do have the original as well, but I'm reading the reissue because the authors decided to put out a new version now that it's such a prevalent illness. It's a weird illness because in the U.S. alone, it's estimated that 18 million, or 6% of the population, has borderline personality disorder or is showing the signs of borderline personality disorder. They also say that up to 25% of all patients with a psychiatric illness or seeking psychiatric help have borderline personality disorder. So it is the single most common currently disorder across the U.S. at least, and still, to most people, nobody knows about it. It is a illness that a lot of psychologists and a lot of psychiatrists are scared of because they don't know what to do with it. Luckily for me, I did get a psychologist and a psychiatrist that have worked with it, and my therapists are the therapists that do the dialectical behavioral therapy for here in the fall. So I got really lucky, but there's a lot of people that don't get that lucky, and I feel for them. I'm very sorry for you guys. They say that 70% of us with BPD will attempt suicide, and 20% of that 70% will succeed. I have had 2 attempts. I've had a lot of thoughts of attempts after that. It is part of the illness. I'm working on that. Actually, the happy pills I'm on right now have gotten some of those thoughts away, but a lot of the other 9 factors of this are there quite a bit. So 9 factors of BPD, right? What are they? Well, and for these, I'll give you some of my own ideas here. Number 1 would be a frantic and desperate attempt to avoid real or imagined abandonment. I have that. The statement of "I hate you, don't leave me." I've used stuff like that before in fights with my exes, stuff like that. Freaking out when somebody's going to leave, freaking out when you are alone. Hell, if you're on my Facebook page, I've been asking almost daily for 3 or 4 weeks for people to do something with me, just because there is that, and that I can't get rid of that with just medication. I might never be able to get rid of that. I should be able to control it a little better, but I might never be able to get rid of it. Unstable or erratic or frantic or fierce relationships, shall we say? Yes, I've had those. I've had real quick relationships where I went from just dating to being in love and everything real quick. I've also fallen out of love real quick. I've had a lot of friendships that were the same thing. I went from nothing to this is my blood brother or my blood sister to nothing again fairly quickly. It is something that happens. An unclear, shaky, or unknown thought of self. Not knowing who you are, or feeling that you don't know who you are, or not being able to explain who you are. Yeah, it's there. It's something people with BPD have. Even me. Who am I? Am I a good father? Am I a horrible father? Am I a good guy? Am I a bad guy? Do I do my charity work to try and feel better about myself? Do I do... what is the real me? Is the Rhino the real me? And the reason you have that problem is because unlike bipolar disorder or anything like that, Your ups and downs are part of your personality. They're not just a mood swing. They are mood swings, but they're part of your personality. They can't be separated from who you are. So you don't understand, you don't accept, and you don't feel normal at all. And it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. Is the Chad that would get angry and yell at people the real Chad? Or is the soft, soothing Chad the real Chad? I don't know. Next would be impulsive behaviors or self-harming behaviors. So self-damaging behaviors of binge drinking, binge eating, substance abuse, sex, shoplifting, driving recklessly, spending money you don't have. Yeah, I did a lot of those things. I used to joke that in my teen years I tried to spread albino like an STD. Back then I was good looking to most women, and yeah, I was doing things I shouldn't have done. I've always spent money I don't have. That's why I ended up in the credit card debt I was in. Luckily, I've been able to fix that over the years. But sex, binge eating, that's one of the reasons I went from being in the strongman and all that to looking the way I look now. It's just ways to make yourself feel better at that moment in time. And they're not healthy, but they are what you do. Recurring suicidal thoughts, attempts, threats, gestures, or self-mutilation. Yeah, all of it. I tried to commit suicide with pills. I tried to commit suicide with alcohol. I'm not a cutter or a burner. When I self-harm, it would be things like headbutting brick walls or punching walls or anything like that. When I would walk out of places of work, sometimes if there was a cinder brick wall, I'd be punching it the whole time we walked out. And I have a good punch, but I'd be doing it, and people would be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, toughening up my knuckles. No, it was a pain that took my mind off of things, and it is what it is. Even now, I can't say I haven't had suicidal thoughts in the last 3 months. I was walking to Lowe's to pick up an order, and as I crossed the bridge over the highway, I did think about just rolling over the edge. It is what it is. Luckily, my medication has basically ended those thoughts, but they were there. And there was attempts. Luckily, my math skills aren't as great as some of my science skills, but it is what it is. Chronic feelings of emptiness. Yeah. I've felt that way for most of my life. It was a weird thing, too, because I thought my kids would fill those voids. I thought my wife would fill that void. And then I'd sit down here in this red chair that I'm sitting in right now and contemplate ending it because I had nothing. I felt nothing. It was like I was a zombie just crossing the threshold. It was a weird, weird feeling. Number 7, severe mood shifts and severe reactions to situational stresses, environmental stresses. That's easy to explain. You could be euphoric and then drop to empty and depressed. You could be depressed and then jump to rage. And it's the littlest things too. There's a lot of. Can you guys just calm down? I'm trying to be serious here. There's a lot of psychologists that will write about talking about us as a third-degree burn victim, where we have no emotional skin. I think I have a little bit better than that, but yeah, there is also number 8, which is frequent and inappropriate displays of anger. Now that I think is part of the mood shifts as well, myself personally. But yeah, it's instead of other people that might get angry about, something weird, well, something legitimate, shall we say, somebody didn't say hi to you, or somebody didn't hold the door for you, or somebody did, and you just go off the handle. It's so inappropriate and unacceptable for the situation that happened that it is almost laughable when you think back on it years later. but yeah, and it's not even, you know, there's the circle of anger that you could learn about in cognitive behavioral therapy or in say anger management, but it talks about, you know, how the situation happens, and then you have your negative thought, then you have your negative feeling, then you have your negative action, which brings it upon a behavior. Well, for us, you don't have that circle of anger. What you have is the thing happens, and you react right then. You don't think your bad thought. You don't do this. You don't do that. You just lash. You lash right then and there, and it's a very, very weird thing. Number 9 is stress-related paranoia and well, just paranoia, I guess, would be the best way to put it. Unrealistic expectations, paranoia. I had that a lot of times in my life at work, thinking, you know, I'm going to get fired for this, I'm going to get fired for that, I'm going to get in trouble for this, I'm going to get in trouble for that. At home, my wife's cheating on me, my wife's cheating on me, my wife's cheating on me, my ex is cheating on me, and my girlfriend's cheating on me. I'm not good enough for somebody. I can't do this for them. I can't. That's the paranoia that just runs through your head. Now, BPD is usually broken down into 4 sections, and in those 4 sections, you will be treated differently. They'll try and treat different aspects of this. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to be. I should have just locked them upstairs, but then they would have just whined. So you have distortions of. Sorry, I'm just going to read the 4. Basically, everything else I have memorized, but these 4 breakdowns aren't the breakdowns I was told about. But they're actually the same 4 breakdowns that were in the 5 different books I've read about the topic. So, mood instability, of course, that one I knew. Impulsive and dangerous, uncontrollable behavior, know that one as well. Interpersonal psychopathology, again, yeah, it's the last one. It's distortions of thought and perception, which is just your paranoia and unreality section. And luckily, that's the one I score the lowest on. So antipsychotics aren't really in my future unless it really comes down to that. So really, part of the problem with this is people don't know how to treat it. People don't know much about it. It's not talked about very often, which is weird because it is one of the most common illnesses out there. You're basically a torn person. You're a wreck of a human. You're torn. You're broken. You're empty. With your personality splintered all over the place by severe contradictions. It's a weird feeling. So that's going to be my first part of explanations of BPD. Next time we'll talk about how it's next time we do this portion of the heart to heart, we're going to talk about how it's compared with other mental illnesses. Because a lot of times it gets misdiagnosed as bipolar. A lot of times it gets misdiagnosed as schizophrenia. It's been misdiagnosed as several different things. So we'll talk about what those are and what the psychologists say about them. The boxer's back. And we'll also talk about a few other things. But that's just going to be what we talk about the next time we talk about BPD in general. My next heart-to-heart video is going to be going back to my conversations. We did the beginning of my life. The next will probably be my high school and university. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please comment. Let's have our chats. Bye.